Alright, hello and welcome to the Science Podcast, otherwise known as the ScienceCast. I'm here with my good friend Nathan and Dylan. You guys can say something.
No.
Yes, you can talk.
Let's be quiet, so I wasn't sure.
Oh my god. Already very professional.
True.
As always. Alright, so let's take a look at our talking points. So
Shoot, I'm sorry.
what?
No, I had the stream playing in the background and it scared me because it's
Oh my god. Anyhow, so you know how everybody always says, why don't we just like launch our trash into the sun?
Yes.
Oh my god. You two. Very professional. I'm glad I chose you two. So do you think that would be at all like viable? Would be a viable option? Think that it would make sense to take like all of our trash, put it in a rocket, and launch it into the sun?
Well, you'd have to increase the payload, and that's increasing the fuel and the material you gotta use. So it's kind of useless in a way. That'd just be a huge project, waste a lot of money and resources.
Yeah, I suppose. Nathan, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess it's just kind of a waste of money.
True, I'd have to agree with you there, with the whole, like, the cost of launching things into space anyhow, let alone garbage, would be quite a bit. On top of that, if you were to add matter to the sun, and, like, even though if you were to launch the rocket straight into the sun, it would burn up, and you'd basically assume that it just vanished and just evaporated for the most part. But a lot of that matter from that rocket and all the trash on it would make it to the sun. And if you add like non-hydrogen based materials to the sun, it actually decreases the sun's lifespan. It makes the sun's life shorter and, in a sense, kills it faster.
But by how much?
Well, I'm sure you could probably, like, figure out for, like, every McDonald's paper cup that you launch into the sun, how much shorter the sun's life will be, but obviously I didn't take the time to do that. That's a lot of work. And a lot of math.
I feel like the government will probably do that at some point.
You think?
Probably, because it's not a smart idea, and it'll probably just happen.
Alright, fair enough, fair enough. Alright. So, on the topic of space, once again, do you think, okay. Right now, NASA's big goal and, like, a lot of, like, space enthusiasts' visions for the future are basically putting people on Mars. But do you think that we really need to, like, take people and physically put ourselves on planets? Or do you think that we just would have to put a robot on another planet? And do you think that's worth it?
I feel like we have to fix our own planet first before we start going to other planets. Just to be honest.
Alright.
Well, what's the point of going to others? Is to gather resources or to gather information?
I think a bit of both. I think, like, if space exploration is for... It's the same reason why people, like Europeans, set sail out into the ocean just to explore, because they didn't know what was out there, they didn't know what sort of things they would find. They thought, hey, we might find some riches, we might learn something. So it's for the same reason, in my mind.
Pioneer.
What?
So basically a pioneer.
Yeah. Just for the sake of exploration. For the sake of discovering what is out there, would be why we would go out and explore space. But do we really need to physically, like, put us out there? Because it's very expensive and is quite the, like, biological hurdle to try and figure out how we're gonna get ourselves to and fro from Mars. And let alone, like, interstellar travel. So...
It's a risk.
Yeah, that in itself, it is a risk, so... It would be a lot cheaper, and a hell of a lot easier to just put robots in space. Do you think that, like, we should or need to do that? Or should we continue striving to put people in space?
Well, I mean, why not both?
I suppose.
That's actually, it's not a really good point, but... You know, I'd say not people.
You'd be more inclined to have us explore space via robot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just seems safer, and I mean, I don't know. I doubt it's cheaper, but
It is a bit, because I mean, with, like, putting people in space, you have to factor in food, water, oxygen.
with the robot, you have to factor in electricity, and you have to maintain the cleaning of parts.
Yeah, with electricity, all of the rovers on Mars have solar panels on them. Interesting fact about the rovers on Mars. We have no idea what cleans off their solar panels. Because the winds on Mars are okay. Mars has a very thin atmosphere, so the highest the winds on Mars can get up to is really only about the equivalent of a light breeze. And we're not entirely sure what gets all of the dust on our rover's solar panels off, because the rovers take photos every once in a while, and the rovers also take photos while they're doing a specific project, and when we request photos, they don't, like, stream constantly video. So we're not entirely sure what cleans off the solar panels.
I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah, if we get there.
Hopefully.
Currently the government, i.e. the presidency right now, is looking into increasing funding for NASA to increasing funding and increasing, like, the drive to put people on Mars, because back when we were during, like, the race to the moon, we were like a world leader then, and we were, like, on top. And so the thought process there is that if we can strive as hard as we did then to put people on Mars, as we did when we tried to put people on the moon, then we should, in theory, be back to a fairly, you know, scientifically inclined country. Which, to a certain degree, I agree with that.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
So. Oh, here's an interesting thought. What do you think you'd see when traveling at the speed of light?
I don't want to know, because that'd probably be a little too fast to comprehend.
Just you know, take a guess. Both of you. What do you think you'd see when traveling at the speed of light?
Normal.
Like at exactly c, which c is the universal constant for the speed of light in a vacuum, which is the fastest speed possible ever. If you were standing, like, let's say, imagine like the USS Enterprise from Star Trek. If you're standing on the bridge of the Enterprise, and the Enterprise is now traveling at c, it is traveling at the fastest possible speed in the known universe. What do you think? Yeah, go ahead.
So, usually when you speed something up, it disappears, right? If you speed it up really fast?
It doesn't disappear, it just moves away.
It's...
Or you move away from it. That raises... Okay, that, here's an interesting phrase. While I was doing some research, before I found this, like, phrase. So, imagine you're standing on a spaceship, and via some magical power, you're looking down at Earth and you can see your friend. And your friend is looking up from Earth at your spaceship and can see you clearly. Now imagine your ship is not moving at all. Not moving, yeah, relative to the Earth. Now imagine that your ship all of a sudden accelerates to the speed of light. From your perspective, sorry, no. Your ship now then accelerates to the speed of light. You're not moving, the Earth is moving away from you. And for your friend, you're moving away from the Earth. Both are completely correct. When you are on the ship, you're not moving at all. When you're with your friend, you're not moving at all, the ship is moving. Both are completely correct and accurate.
What?
Yeah, that's perspective for you. Frame of reference. There is no one singular frame of reference that is applicable to every single instance, because everything in the universe is in motion. I mean, like, you could say, like, well, there's the obvious, we're on the Earth is rotating, the Earth is orbiting the Sun, which is orbiting in our galaxy on the Orion, or the arm of Orion. I think, yeah, it's the arm of Orion. But you could even go down to, like, the size that the atoms that make us up are vibrating, and there's electrons orbiting these atoms as well. So everything, because everything is made up of atoms for the most part, is moving. So there's no one singular frame of reference. So I was talking with my science teacher, and I actually ended up posing the question, what do you think you would see when traveling at the speed of light? And what I said was, once again, imagine the bridge of the USS Enterprise. Now imagine the ship is now traveling, right now is traveling at the speed of light, exactly c. And you can see, let's say you can see all of the photons inside of your ship, inside of the bridge. You, for all intensive purposes, imagine a grid of photons, and like each corner is where a photon is. Because all of those photons are traveling at exactly c, and moving forward, because photons once again travel in a straight line, all photons do. Because you're traveling at the same speed as those photons, the photons would appear stationary. And as you should know, light, how we see basically works by light hitting an object, that object absorbing all light except for the light that is the corresponding color to the object. So let's say my desk is a bright perfect blue, or let's say like the microphone that's on screen right now. Light hits that microphone, the microphone absorbs all light except for blue, and then reflects blue light. And that light then travels into our eye and hits the cones and rods and stuff, and that's how we see. But if you're moving at the same speed, and more or less in the same direction as those photons, no photons are traveling into your eye. Do you see anything?
How could you see anything?
And that was my point. But obviously, within like the Bridge of the Enterprise, there's lights in the ceiling, there's lights on like along the floor and stuff, there's lights all over the place. So not all of the photons are going to be traveling the same general direction. And photons are a bit weird. They're waves and particles at the same time, and they're neither at the same time, but they're one or the other in certain situations, but they're weird, basically. They're waves and particles. But they're also still the same thing. So let's say you have your ship is traveling at sea. And like sound, light travels at different speeds through different mediums. So the speed of light in a vacuum, c, is different from the speed of light through our atmosphere. Light traveling through our atmosphere is slower than c. We're going to call the speed of light through our atmosphere b, because it makes life easier for me. So the light inside of the ship, assuming that the ship has the same sort of atmosphere as Earth, the light inside of the ship is traveling at b, but the ship is traveling at c. Now imagine, like, let's say for the lights in the ceiling, the photons coming from those lights are traveling straight down. And because photons are not affected by inertia, the photons would be moving completely independently of the ship. So if you were to follow the path of the photon, it would be a straight line. But if you were to follow the path of the photon relative to the ship, the photon would appear to curve backwards. Like, curve towards the back of the ship. So, with that in mind, yes, there's a possibility that light could travel into your eye from that, in that respect. So, but then that raises the question of, for like, if all of the light coming down from like the lights in the ceiling are going straight down, and because of the ship moving and the photons coming from the ceiling are moving completely independently of the ship, and they're curving towards the back, these lights, the photons from the lights in the ceiling, would there be like a corner up in the front, or like a little like bar up in the front that's just dark because there's no photons hitting there? Obviously when photons hit objects, though, they bounce off, so there's that to factor in as well, and the fact that photons are traveling at a different speed than the ship itself. So it poses an interesting question. Would you see anything when traveling at the speed of light?
That's still to be figured out.
Well, I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody's traveled at the speed of light yet. We really don't know what because with light and traveling at the speed of light, that's where relativity kicks in, and relativity is an interesting subject. I mean, I've read the book, it's quite the read. I would recommend getting like a reader's guide to go with it, because Einstein has a very interesting way of writing. I reread quite a few chapters and pages of that book, just trying to understand some stuff. So it's certainly not an easy subject to understand. But relativistic things happen when traveling at the speed of light, like, for instance, time dilation. Imagine like you're sitting on your couch, and you get up and walk towards your fridge in the kitchen. And suppose you have a friend, suppose you have a perfect copy of yourself sitting next to you on that couch before you get up. The version of you who got up and walked towards the fridge will live longer than the version of you that stayed sitting. Because motion, basically the faster you go, the more time dilation occurs. Speed is relative to gravity and time, so on and so forth. All of these things are relative to each other, that's why it's called relativity. So traveling at the speed of light creates time dilation. Meaning that if you were to travel at the speed of light for X amount of time, X amount of time would have passed. Sorry, no. Traveling at the speed of light for X amount of time, a Y amount of time would have passed for everybody else who's not traveling at that speed. One question that is commonly asked of, like, basically whenever people are given the opportunity to talk to, like, a physicist who understands relativity and stuff like that, just physicists in general, I guess, a lot of people usually ask, well, suppose I'm standing in a ship that's traveling at the speed of light. What if I walked forward at, let's say, 1 meter per second? Would I be traveling faster than light because I'm already moving at the speed of light? What do you guys think? Would you be?
Yes. Wait, I don't know. That's hard to answer.
Like I said before, relativity is a really weird subject. And at one point or another, when it comes to like physics and relativity and quantum physics for that matter, at one point you basically just have to sort of, like when you read something or you learn something, you just have to say, okay. If that's how it works, then fine. Do I understand it? No, but if that's how it works, then okay.
How does it work?
Well, like I said earlier, C is the fastest speed. It is the penultimate speed limit of the universe. Nothing can travel faster than C. So if you were to stand up and walk 1 meter per second squared, now, if you were to stand up and walk 1 meter per second on a ship that's already traveling at exactly C, because of relativity and, like I said, time dilation, your speed would be halved, then quartered, and then so on and so forth, to all the way down to the point where basically your movement was either exactly C or less than C.
What?
Time dilation is weird. Yeah, like I said, there are times when you basically have to say, okay, if that's how it works, then fine. Let's see here.
Oh, I have something.
Yeah, what's up?
Let me put it in chat.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people ask that.
Is gravity faster than light? Well, okay. Light is a physical object. Light is photons. Gravity is a force. They affect each other, yes. Gravity... The speed of gravity is affected by what is creating the gravity. Like, let's say, with black holes, they have enough gravity that it's pulling with so much force that it can pull in light traveling at C. So it has enough gravity to do that. That doesn't mean that the gravity is pulling at a force faster than light. It's pulling at a force that is C, which is a bit confusing, but like was stated, as was stated in a very previous science podcast, when if you were to imagine gravity, imagine like a silk sheet with a bowling ball in the center. That bowling ball would be Earth. If you were to then roll a marble in a circular pattern like around the bowling ball in the center, it would orbit, just like gravity. That's kind of how gravity is visualized, by a sort of grid, and with a large object pushing the grid down. And the amount that the grid is pushed down is relative to the amount of mass the object has. So, in a sense, the light is literally falling into the black hole at the speed of light. It's basically like if you were to be walking along like a cliff and all of a sudden fall in. Or, yeah, if you were like be walking along the edge of the Grand Canyon and then all of a sudden fall in. The Grand Canyon is the black hole. You are the light in this instance.
Oh.
So, I mean, to that extent, gravity also affects light. Gravity, light, and time are sort of intertwined. There's a reason why it's called space-time. They're intertwined. One affects the other affects. They affect each other. So a great example would be, there is a star. I can't remember the name of the star, but if you were to imagine like in a straight line going left to right, Earth, the Sun, and our star. We're gonna call the star Jerry. Now, between Earth and Jerry is the Sun, and they're in a perfectly straight line in this instance. And mind you, this actually happened. This is a real-world scenario. This happened. During a solar eclipse, astronomers realized and noticed that Jerry, which is technically speaking behind the Sun from where they were and from their perspective at that time, Jerry was behind the Sun. They could see Jerry next to the Sun. So, from what they were seeing, Jerry was not behind the Sun, it was next to the Sun. Obviously a distance away, but it was not behind it. And that confused people a lot. But, like I said, light and gravity are affected by each other, so if basically the light from Jerry traveled straight towards the Sun, and the moment it hit the Sun's gravitational pull, it curved around the Sun towards the Earth.
But what would happen to the other side?
What?
What about the other side?
On the other side? Of what?
I'm sick.
On the other side of the Sun?
I really want to draw this in paint.
You want to, so you're a visual learner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I could open up a window of MS Paint quick. Let's see here. I need to just like find a random image on my computer and like edit it. I'm gonna copy you and edit you. Uno momento, por favor. I'm gonna do this live because
Oh no.
professionalism.
That's a good idea.
Professionalism. It's what we do.
Okay.
I'm gonna zoom in a bit. What's up?
Is Nathan still alive?
Nathan.
Yeah,
Hi, welcome. Glad you could join us.
I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, I know. Alright, so now...
I'm making a grid.
Hold on. I have to do it again. I'm gonna try this one more time. Capture a specific window. MS Paint. Now, why are you doing that? Hey Dylan, can I ask a favor of you?
What?
Can I designate you as my live stream chat watcher?
Chat watcher. Okay.
Yeah,
I think there's only one watching right now.
that's fine.
Yeah, you gotta put this all over Twitter, man. You gotta get it out there, Chris.
Why won't you work? Oh well. I can't get it to work.
That's fine.
So I'll just like do it quick here. I won't display it live, but I'll be able to at least show you. Well, once I'm done making the image, so we'll. Sure, that's Earth. We'll make it green because it's Earth. We'll make the sun. We'll make it yellow because it's obviously the sun. And then we'll make Jerry, and Jerry will be red because why not?
Jerry's red.
Yeah. And so Jerry's light goes forward and then curves around the sun, making it appear that Jerry is here. As I now try and do dotted lines.
Did the picture go well?
It went well. I'm now going to move that.
Display it on.
Yeah, I will. Don't
That'll
you
be
worry.
fine.
Don't worry, your pretty little face. There it is, the low quality image that is this.
It'll take a minute to load.
Yeah, it'll take a minute for the live stream to catch up. So basically the red circle is, like I said, Jerry, yellow circle is the sun, and obviously this is not to scale in any way whatsoever. The green circle is the Earth, and the dark red circle is what we see Jerry's location to be. Make sense now?
Yeah, but why did Jerry decide to be on the left side instead of the right side?
Well, because Jerry was a bit more towards the left.
So if it's okay, now that makes more
Because
sense.
Jerry's position was not perfectly perpendicular to the sun and Earth.
Because if it was, then you wouldn't be able to see it, right?
Yeah. Well, you would be able to see it. It's just the likelihood of during the eclipse that this was seen, the Earth was in a position where Jerry was behind the sun, but was not perfectly perpendicular to the Earth's location, because the likelihood of a universal perpendicular relationship between two objects that are a unfathomable distance apart is highly unlikely.
Okay.
Make sense now?
Yep.
So here's an interesting thought. Imagine a world where physicists didn't explain how laws of physics work, but they merely just displayed that we know how this works, and you don't. Imagine a world like that.
That's kind of what it is.
Well, it's not at all, actually. Physicists explain everything. And, I mean, I guess, like, if physicists did that, then they would pretty much be, like, the gods of this world. They would be our almighty rulers because they knew how things worked and how the universe worked, and we didn't. And it wouldn't be that bad. We'd probably get things done.
Well,
Obviously, there would be some obvious historical repercussions to that, but
a lot of things wouldn't be discovered.
yeah. So, do you know what a charlatan is?
Oh, what?
A charlatan.
What's that?
I'm gonna Google the definition to make sure I have the exact.
Some definitions are not exact. Oh,
A charlatan. A person falsely claiming to have special knowledge or skill. A fraud. A charlatan. So, because physicists explain things, it lowers the possibility of there being charlatans out there. But because the education system doesn't perfectly describe what science is, how it works, and doesn't educate us very well on it, charlatans are incredibly more likely, and that leads to, like, people claiming to know information when they don't understand and haven't done the research, thus creating a ton of misinformation and misconceptions and such. Like, one misconception would be that you explode in the vacuum of space. You don't. Obviously, all the gases in your body would be violently burped and farted out of every orifice on you, but you wouldn't explode. Why would you explode? Once again, misconceptions. Another misconception would be the one that we only use like 20% of our brain. I think it's actually 10%. It's one of those two. Obviously, we don't. If we did, we would be dead. We would be vegetables. So, because of charlatans, there's a lot of misconceptions and misknowledge, and it's a problem. It's like a huge problem in society. People claiming to know things when they don't know what they're talking about, like, at all. And it's sad.
some people are just taught that way. Right?
Yeah. And, like, I'm sure somebody could apply this to religion, which is not what I want them to do. That's not at all what I'm talking about. Religion is not misinformation. Religion is a belief. In the same context that science is my belief. So, religion is not a charlatan. It is a belief, in the same respect that science is. We cannot disprove all of religion, and religion cannot disprove all of science. Until one or the other is proven to be 100% without a hair of doubt correct, both will be completely correct. Just food for thought, I suppose. Here's another thought. What do you think the language of the universe is?
What?
I'm guessing it's not infinite.
What do you think the language of
Oh.
the universe is? Sorry, I said that.
The line.
I thought
Sorry.
you said length.
Yeah, sorry, I said that really quickly. What do you think the language of the universe is?
Well, it's definitely not English.
Because I mean, you go to China, you learn Mandarin Chinese. You go to Japan, you learn Japanese. You go to Germany, you learn German. Those are the languages of those places. If you were to go to the universe, what language do you need to learn?
I think it's impossible to know before we... To know that question, we'd have to see other life or something to figure out how they communicate to know.
Well, that would be the language of them.
Oh, that is true.
What is the language of the universe? If you were to go to the universe, what would its language be?
Ask the universe.
Universe! What's your language?
Suck a dick.
Wow. Thank you.
Somebody just said they like cucumber. They said, "What are you talking about?"
All right.
What?
So you guys have no idea what the language of the universe is.
No,
What do you think it is if we don't know it?
It's probably chemicals.
I guess it would be math.
I mean, that would make sense.
Because, well...
But,
ahead.
if there was a different life, they might have different math than us.
This is
So
true.
It can't be
But
math. It has to be something that every living thing has the same exact of.
the speed of light in a vacuum is absolute throughout the universe. The length of an atom, of like a specific atom, is the same. So I suppose...
Maybe atoms. That's what it is.
I mean, with like language, like, with words, like what we're talking now, English. It's some pretty poor English at that, but it's English. Words are very good at describing like emotions, complicated things, things that aren't finite and permanent. So in my mind, math would be a very good language for the universe because things are finite in math. You know, 1 times 1 is always 1. It's not 2. It's not fish. It's 1. Math is an absolute. It's very exact.
But Chris,
Yeah.
how do you explain how much? Because you can't really communicate that with fingers.
This is true, but
I have an idea.
you could say, well, like let's go with rocks.
I have an idea.
Go ahead.
So wait, we're talking about the language of the universe?
Yeah.
The one thing that's the same for every single living thing is time. I mean, it's called differently, but we all progress it, if that's not the right word.
Earlier we discussed that time moves faster or slower, I guess. Time dilation occurs at different speeds.
Well, no offense.
Yeah.
When you were explaining all that, I so lost track.
I understand. I tend to be kind of weird in how I explain things, but I get them explained, I would suppose. Anyways, like let's use back to what Dylan asked. Like, how would I like display, like, let's say the number 5 to a species that has a completely different principle and use of math than we do? What I could use would be, like, let's say aluminium, pure aluminium cubes that are 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch in size. I could display 5 of these cubes and say that that is 5. You can display math equations, like really complicated math equations, like let's say E equals mc squared, for instance, or the full equation, which would be E equals the square root of pc to the 4th plus mc to the 4th. Which a bit more context on why it's that later, but you could even display like incredibly complicated equations like that very simply, well, not very simply, but with a lot of effort through physical objects.
Chris,
Yeah. Yes.
it might be might take a little while to understand though.
Absolutely, it would take a long time to understand. And I think as you progressed explaining things and explaining how our math system works with physical objects and such, the learning curve between the two, like our species and this alien species, could be, the learning curve could be beaten. I was trying to think of the word. The learning curve could be overcome over time.
You know what I was thinking about? It's because we're kind of at a basic level. What if it's just they're trying to explain to us
Well, then...
We can't comprehend it. And it's not worth their time.
Well, then it would be a... We would certainly try our best to explain that we have at least a rudimentary knowledge of how things work. But if they come to the conclusion that we're not sufficiently advanced enough for them, then... oh well for us. At that point, I don't think we would be able to do very much if they came to that conclusion. We could certainly try. We could certainly do our best and work our hardest to overcome the learning curve between our two species, between our species and a sufficiently more advanced one.
So it takes time.
These things just take time, patience, and a lot of effort. Much like with everything.
Everything's kind of at a different level.
It is. It would be kind of like us sitting down and trying to explain algebra to a kindergartner. You could think of it like that, or a kindergartner trying to explain math, like the math that it's learned, to a physicist.
Yeah.
It would be analogous of that, in a sense. Like, with the two different situations, one where we're the more advanced species, you would use the analogy where we were teaching the kindergartner algebra, and for a less advanced species, like us, teaching a more advanced species, we would be the kindergartner. So, more or less, it depends on the situation.
It's kind of depressing.
Well, how is it depressing?
I don't know, just, you can't... You want to understand, but you can't.
It's not a matter... Well... Yeah, it's hard to... If we were to teach another alien species, or another alien species were to teach us, it would be hard. It would be. It would be very difficult for us to overcome the learning curve and to start understanding what they know.
And there's no saying that they're smarter than us. We might have to teach them what we know.
This is true.
No, that's...
We might not even be able to teach. They might be like single-celled organisms.
Well, that would still be a incredible triumph all on its own.
Oh yeah.
That would completely and utterly expand our knowledge of biology, because, as everybody knows, if you want to get a pretty good idea as to how something works, like let's say you want to figure out how long a dog lives, you would take a couple hundred of each variety of dog and see how long it lives. You would the larger your testing sample, the more accurate your results will be. But when it comes to life, we have one example, one thing to test, and that is us. That's it. So if we were to discover another life, that would double our understanding of how life works and how it forms and stuff and such.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if we discovered life that's more intelligent than us, we're probably screwed.
Well,
because speaking that our life can't even get along with each other, how can we get along with other life,
mankind has gotten along really well in situations that completely blew us all away. It just astounded all of us. And whether for better or for worse, like for instance, for worse, an example would be when America first dropped the first atom bomb. The entire world was like, oh my god, that just happened. Holy cow. And for a time, everything was fine. Things were good. Obviously not in Japan, but that's besides the point. We got along for a period of time there, but then it was more of a fight for, we want that technology. And eventually, I feel that yes, there would be attempts to, you know, like if a, let's use the Vulcans from Star Trek for example. They're when they first met Earthlings in the Star Trek universe, they were way more advanced than we were, like, and pardon my pun here, light years ahead of us. And yes, people tried to steal Vulcan technology. That happened, but for quite a while actually, there was peace. And I'm sure there will be disputes between Earthlings and this alien race. In this example, the Vulcans, there would be disputes between the two species. Because they're different species. They live different lives, they work differently, they think differently, they understand things differently. There would obviously be disputes, as there are with us, because there are differences between all of us. If we were all the same, there would be no arguments, there would be no war, there would be nothing. It's because of our differences and because of our conflicts with each other that we learn. The classic phrase...
At least hope to learn.
Yes, the classic phrase, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it, is very true. And we've learned from history quite a bit, actually. We haven't repeated the same mistakes we have in the past. Cough, cough, for instance, the Black Plague. The pun there was the cough, cough. So... yes, we have learned from our mistakes, and this could get real political real fast, but that's not the point. So, with these things, you take it with a grain of rice. A grain of rice.
A grain of salt.
I meant to say a grain of salt. I said a grain of rice. Well, I just ruined any reputability I just had, or gained. All that's out the window now.
Window.
Grain of rice, everybody. Grain of rice.
You said winder. You said winder.
I said winder?
You said winder.
When did I say winder?
Well, I gotta look it back on the street.
Okay.
I swear you said winder.
I might have said winder, I don't know. Tend to say some pretty weird things.
Yeah, you said winder. I just watched it back.
Alright. What was I talking about?
Winders.
You threw it right out the window, Chris.
Thank you.
Right out the window.
Right out that there winder.
Yeah. Threw it right out. I think you were talking about differences.
Perhaps.
And you said something about getting political.
Okay.
You didn't want to get political.
Yeah. Huh.
Gotta throw it right out the window.
We should create a docs for this.
What? I think right about now would be a good time. Really? Really? The moment I was about to, the moment I'm talking, you just.
You threw it right out the window.
You're never gonna let this die, are you?
The window, the second story window. You remember that song, dude?
You remember that song, do you?
I just said that.
I know, I was repeating what you said. Anyhow, I think right about now would be a good time to take a short break, so... The internet can hear us again, hopefully. We'll see what this does. Come
up with some topics.
Let's see. Come on now. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Come on, stream. Come on, stream. Ah, no. Yes, maybe. Hello?
I don't see anything popping up.
No content issues. There we go.
So you just can't play that?
I guess I just can't play the video, yeah.
Hmm.
Alright, so I guess the internet can hear us again now.
Still can hear.
Yes, and they can see us as well. Brilliant. Oh my god, that was something.
Heart attack. Okay.
Let's try not to do that again. How are we?
How's Nathan?
I'm doing pretty good.
Are we not dead yet?
Sadly not.
Well, that's usually a bonus. Stream seems to be back online.
Is everything ready?
Yeah, I mean, the internet can hear us.
Alright.
They've been hearing us.
Let's not throw this one out the window.
I swear to God.
Alright, what's the topic?
I'll let you decide now. You can pick.
Oh. I do kind of want to find out why it's so spicy and painful.
What is?
So,
You want to find out why wasabi is painful?
yeah. I actually don't know why it is.
So, with most hot sauces, they affect our taste buds. They make our taste buds react in the hot and spicy, slightly painful way. But the thing is with wasabi doesn't do that. Wasabi doesn't affect our taste buds virtually at all. Wasabi contains a chemical, and by contains I mean it is chocked full of this chemical, and our taste buds do not respond to this chemical whatsoever. The only thing in our mouths, more or less, that respond to this chemical are our pain receptors. And this chemical latches onto them and activates them like nothing else, and that's partly why it hurts so much. And also because most of our esophagus and our nasal area and our mouth has pain receptors all over the place in there. That is why it hurts just so much, breathing it in or ingesting it. Because it doesn't affect our taste buds, it affects our pain receptors. Fun fact, I learned that one while watching a True TV World's Dumbest.
Is that a TV show?
Yeah, World's Dumbest is a TV show on True TV, I believe. Is it true? I don't know. I was watching World's Dumbest, basically. That or it was Outrageous Acts of Science. It was one of the two. And basically the video clip was of a Chinese student sleeping in his house, and his roommate took a huge, we're talking really, really big spoonful of wasabi and shoved it in his sleeping mouth, and he all of a sudden shot straight up, and tears immediately were pouring down his eyes. He was just crying, and partly because he was in pain, and partly because he breathed a bit of it in, not into his lung, but he inhaled the fumes from it. Fumes, you know what I mean. Hopefully. So.
That sounds painful.
It is. You ever had wasabi?
Nope.
Fun fact about wasabi. All of the wasabi in America is just horseradish that's been colored.
Really?
Yep, and wasabi actually translates to Japanese horseradish, so it is horseradish. But wasabi is very, very expensive to transport and doesn't have like the longest shelf life. And they really only ever grow it in the country of origin, so all of the wasabi, if not almost all, if not all, of the wasabi in America is just horseradish. If you were to get real wasabi here in America, it would be stupid expensive.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Superior audio quality. That was the attempt with this reboot of the ScienceCast.
I'll have to bring this upstairs next time.
Yeah, we're gonna have to troubleshoot the audio quality.
Somebody wants to understand.
Somebody just wants to understand.
Just pretend it's part of the audience.
Just part of the audience.
It's just part of the audience.
We have a live studio audience in front of us.
Yeah.
We're not even all in the same room.
They're trying to understand.
I think they'd raise their hands. This is clearly not the case. Oh my gosh. So.
Next topic.
Go ahead. Either one of you can pick one.
Nathan, you should pick one.
I get to pick a topic.
We're starting to run out, so I'm gonna start writing a few more down.
Okay, let me just quick go with the... What, are we a simulation?
Are we in a simulation?
Nobody knows it.
Well, personally, I doubt we're in a simulation.
Oh yeah, I don't really believe
A lot of people... there are genuine people out there who genuinely think that we are. Which is fine, power to them, whatever. But I personally don't. And the reason for thinking, like, one thing that I've always heard is, like, if you want to find out if you're in a simulation, look for glitches in the Matrix.
That's kind of...
I've seen so many videos of that.
Yeah, but my thought is, if we're inside of a simulation, powerful enough to simulate all of our individual minds and constantly have our entire world like rendered from like a visual standpoint, rendered in a night. If it's this advanced and this vast, then you'd think that suppose a glitch happened, the computer would be able to pause,
Sleep.
fix the glitch, go back, and replay.
So just do it over again, but take away the memories of it happening.
Yeah, just basically go back, fix the glitch, and then replay. It's like rewatching a movie, because the first time round your internet got fuzzy, so it glitched out a little. But then you go and rewatch it, and it's fine this time.
And you forget about the glitch.
Well, if the simulation were to do that, then the glitch never happened, because it completely removed it from the timeline of our world. Yeah. So, yes, is there a possibility that we could somehow be in a simulation? Do I think we are? No. I doubt it. But the reality of our world is that the only thing that you could ever 100% confirm to be real would be your own mind, your own brain. That is the only part of you. The part of you that is you. That is the only part of you that you know to exist. Everything else that you see, your hands, your body, everything around you, is unconfirmable to actually exist. The only thing that you know that 100% exists is yourself. Once again, food for thought.
Hard to think about.
It is a bit. I never said it would be an easy topic.
No. Hard to think of.
Did I say this would be easy?
Should we cross this one off the bucket list?
The bucket list?
This
Yo,
is
you
my
have a
question.
sad bucket list if that's on your bucket list. You need to rethink how you write
One
your
of them-
bucket list if that's what's on your bucket
One
list,
of them-
man.
One of them is the wingsuit dive, okay? That's one of them. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm terrified of heights, so I don't really think I would be real into that.
I'm having trouble coming up with topics.
So, get this, Domino's at one point wanted to release, mind you, they were only really testing this in Australia. They wanted to release a like drone that delivered pizza, not like an air drone, but a drone on wheels, and they based it off of military technology so it could take a beating and like actually traverse terrain. And it was designed to go like across sidewalks and lawns and stuff like that, and deliver your pizza for you.
Like that idea.
But, I mean, as cool as that sounds, and, you know, as awesome as that is, yeah, I think, at what point is somebody just gonna, like, see this thing going across, like, the sidewalk outside their house, run out in front of it, lie down, and then just wait for it to run them over, and then sue Domino's?
Oof.
That's a good
What
idea.
if it's small enough? I mean, if it's just gonna carry pizza.
It's, like, about, I'd say, up to your waist.
Oh shoot, that's
It's
big.
that tall, and it carries a pizza and heats it and everything, and has enough technology to have a motor in it to move the wheels, and a camera to see where it's going, and a GPS and stuff, so it's pretty beefy and it's pretty heavy.
If
That's,
someone actually did that, that's just so petty.
Hey, listen, there are people who will go out, climb electrical poles, and touch the electrical wires, just so they can sue the electric company. Seriously,
And do they win?
this happens, yeah,
Why?
because the electric company didn't stop them sufficiently. And like in neighborhoods where this will happen, what the electric company will often do is basically just sort of put barbed wire along the poles. That way you can't climb them. Now, get this. This happened in our town. This happened quite a few times. So, it happens even in little rural Wisconsin. So,
that's sad.
yeah, it is.
It's just like that one incident with McDonald's and the coffee.
Well, that's not.
Wait, what happened?
Well, that's just a ridiculous case.
It's
Wait,
not a
what?
ridiculous. Okay, context
How is
with
that not a ridiculous case?
context, Dylan. So, the story is that a woman orders coffee and then spills the coffee on her lap and then sues McDonald's and wins. So, okay. I don't remember the woman's name, but basically, she's 73 years old. She was driving with her son. She wasn't even driving, the son was. They stopped at McDonald's. She ordered a coffee, the son ordered whatever. They were parked, mind you. Parked in a parking lot. And she was trying to put the cap on of her coffee. And it slipped out of her hands, mind you, she's 73. So, it makes sense how it would slip. And it gave her second and third degree burns. What coffee is that hot? And it turns out, during an investigation, that their coffee was near the boiling temperature of coffee. The coffee was way too hot. And this was occurring all over the country. There have been multiple actual cases in that year alone of people being severely burned by McDonald's coffee. And so the 73-year-old woman, she didn't even want to sue the company. Her son pressured her to do so because he's like, we can't pay for your medical bills. She's like, okay, fine. And she only asked for enough to pay for her medical bills. That's all she wanted, and that's all she really got just enough to pay for her medical bills to recover. And McDonald's, being a big company that they are, because McDonald's in this case was actually at fault, they allowed their restaurants to have their coffee at that temperature that was way too dangerously hot. They allowed that to happen. So McDonald's, being at fault, lost the case, but also McDonald's, being a big company, got the media to cover it in a very specific light, making McDonald's seem like they were the victim of people abusing the system, when this just wasn't the case. There you go. And if you're wondering how I know this, you can actually find her story in the sources area of the TV show Adam Ruins Everything.
That sounds like a familiar show.
Adam Ruins Everything? Started off as a college humor little short series hosted by Adam Conover. True TV picked it up, and it's coming back soon for its next season.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Chris loved it.
My family on the other hand thinks it's a stupid show, but it's not. It tells the truth and proves systems wrong, which is what needs to be done. I'm no like social justice warrior, but I enjoy knowing the truth. And I enjoy enlightening people. Enjoying is wrong.
It makes you sound like a person trying to convert you to a religion.
I sound condescending when I say that. I don't mean to sound condescending. That's not what I want. I enjoy teaching people the truth, because a lot of people think things that aren't correct and they aren't true. Do I know everything? No. Do I want to? Oh God, yes. A small goal of mine is to know everything. Obviously, I'm not going to be real condescending and be exaggerating to say that I know everything. I don't know everything now, and I probably won't ever know everything. Would that be nice? Yeah. Anyways, I strive to inform people on the truth, because there's far too many misconceptions and misknowledge out there, and that is what puts society at fault. Not part of what is the problem with society today is people who are filled with misknowledge, and a lot of the time the people who are complaining about the way society is are people who are misinformed and don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know the full story, they don't know what's going on. So yeah. But I still think the Domino's bot thing is a bit ridiculous, mainly because, for college kids, pizza delivery guy, that's a really easy job to do, and it pays well, so why not? But if you have these robots all over the place, oops, no more jobs for you. But that goes back to the industrial automation of everything sort of thing, sort of job.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Next. So, with the whole part of the automation, do you think eventually if we get too advanced not robots, but okay. Yeah, basically, do you think robots eventually will take over? Because...
So, if you make a robot that has the capability and the intelligence and the drive to kill all of humanity, then you deserve to die, because you're an idiot. We make robots, we program them, we invented them. You'd think that if we were intelligent enough, we would be able to prevent them from doing that sort of thing. So, I doubt that if humanity is intelligent enough, that will somehow eventually create an AI that's powerful enough to destroy us all. But only time will tell, really. But that's just my opinion. It's a subjective thing. Everybody's opinion is different. Dylan, quick update. How's the stream looking?
We're all good. There's nothing happening in the chat.
Anything going on with the video quality? Still the same? Still good?
It's all good.
Alright, brilliant. That's what I wanted. That's what I like to hear.
The reboot is here.
Yeah. It's a reboot of what was an old little, like... I guess now it's old. Just side thing that we did forever ago. I remember doing that. That was a lot of fun.
What?
Remember when we did the first few science casts?
There were just a lot of questions and a lot of answers.
It was a lot of fun, though. We all had a lot of fun and enjoyed ourselves during all that.
Pretending you're famous.
What?
Remember the Lennies?
Yes, I remember the Lennies. Are you looking back in like the Science Cast Discord?
Yeah.
Yeah, figured as much.
Let's see the Salts, Nathan, and the Naked Cats. Which look really weird.
Moving on from all of that,
I thought.
what's our next talking point if we have one?
Let's see, we don't have too much left, but there's this one.
We can always create stuff on the spot, and that's part of the whole process. Shut up. I'm tired. I haven't slept in like 2 days.
You should sleep then, okay?
Yeah, maybe I should. I got stuff to do tomorrow.
Not quite yet, but you know, you gotta get early tonight.
Yeah, anyways.
Well, okay. I don't know if this is a good one to talk about. Maybe a different one.
Well, do you think that, like, in the future, we're gonna have, like, a colony on Mars, and, like, we'll be traveling back and forth between, Earth and Mars, and, like, oh, I gotta go visit my aunt on Mars, or, like, like, I was born and raised on Mars, or, like, I'm from Alpha Centauri. Stuff like that.
I doubt we'll have the resources to get anywhere.
Well, maybe not within our lifetimes, but there is more than enough resources in the asteroid belt alone. The universe is full of stuff.
Well, do you know how far each one is apart from the other?
Well, once you're there, they're fairly easy to get to. And it's simply, if we can get to the asteroid belt and start mining and put a mining base on the asteroid belt, then I think we should be sufficiently able to go between each asteroid and mine them up. There's so many resources out there. Like, seriously. It's ridiculous how much we've got out there. So the next one is, why do we remember things that never happened?
I'm a little confused about that one.
You got any ideas? Take a guess. I feel like I'm talking too much. I want you guys to contribute. I don't want me to be talking.
I want to give an example, but I don't have any.
Well, one example would be, I have a memory of walking down a hallway with a white carpet. The walls are a slightly dark, light to dark gray. You walk down the hallway, and the hallway has, like, photos on it that I can't make out. There's a door on the left-hand side, right at the end, like right up against the end of the hallway wall. Walking into that doorway, there's a darkly illuminated room with a blackout curtain. I can't tell what color the room is. It has the same white carpet as the hallway. There's a crib in there. The wind is blowing through the room. The only light is from the sunlight coming in through the outside outlines of the blackout curtain, and the crib is white.
Kind of creepy.
There is no house that I've ever been to that has that sort of layout. No house that has ever had anything like that, and the perspective of walking down that hallway is of my height now. So it doesn't make much sense, because I've remembered that almost all of my life. Not almost. I can't remember when I started remembering it, but for as long as I can remember, I've had that memory.
Sounds like a dream.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's a dream, because I rarely remember dreams that vividly.
I have a next point.
What's up?
I don't know if you want to talk about this or not,
Well,
but you got me thinking.
all right.
What about like reincarnation stuff?
All right. Personally speaking, I don't believe in reincarnation. I think it's a bit far-fetched, because we're the only sentient life on Earth that we know of, and you'd think that if there was another sentient species out there on Earth that we would have found it by now. So we're the only sentient species on Earth. To say that, like, when I die, I'll become, like, a bird or a caterpillar?
What about not a bird, but like a human person?
Well, like, where I'll die and then I'll become another human?
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. I don't understand how that can be the case, because everybody's different, everybody's entirely different, we all have different life experiences. We have, like, according to reincarnation, I could die and then be born as, like, an Asian man or an Asian woman on the other side of the world. And is time a factor? Am I reborn 100 years from now? 100 years in the past? Tomorrow? Yesterday? Now? Like, when I die, do I immediately wake up as something else? There's just a lot of unknown and a lot of just sort of, well, it just works, it just happens, it's just how this is just how it is. And to a certain degree, that's the problem with religion compared to science, which is partly why I believe in science and am not religious. Is religion wrong? No. Is science wrong? No. Like was stated before, it's a belief sort of system. In my mind, I believe that when we die, we just cease. There is nothing. And if you were to try and, like, imagine nothingness, no black, no darkness, just nothing, you can imagine it and perceive it for, like, seconds. Like, not even. And then all of a sudden, all of the universe comes rushing back in. Because, I mean, our minds are... This machine in our head is designed to basically live out, like, our X amount of lifespan, and then reproduce fairly impressive copies of ourselves. That's our entire purpose, is to just make more of ourselves. So the thought, for our brains to have the ability to imagine our own non-existence isn't useful in any way towards the common goal of copying ourselves. So in my mind, that's why we wouldn't be able to imagine nothingness. And to that extent, I don't believe that there is an afterlife. I believe that once we die, we cease to exist, and there is a nothing more. Am I right? No. Am I wrong? No. Do I know? No, it's a belief. It's a belief system like everything else. We do not know. Will we ever know? I doubt it. So yeah. Do I believe in reincarnation? Do I think it's possible? In my mind, no. Could it be? Probably.
Kind of impossible to imagine that.
It is. It's also kind of impossible to... It is, and it's also kind of impossible to, prove. Or disprove. So... It's just one of those things.
One of these things is not like the other.
One of these things just doesn't belong. Alright.
What? Oh, thanks.
What?
We don't have any more. I mean, we have some topics left, but they're not quite very interesting.
Well, make something new.
That's hard.
That's the point of, like, on-the-spot stuff. Ah, the furious typing of Nathan. I can sense it.
And hear it.
That too. Oh, somebody set something down. I think it was a phone.
Let's talk about what.
Oh, now we're just like slapping our arms across our keyboards.
Actually, that's my phone.
Are you just slapping our phone down on the table?
Yeah.
Alright. Fantastic audio quality. Thank you. Nathan, save that for after.
Yeah, you know, you're being a little autistic.
Yeah.
Well, this was actually a lot more fun than I expected it to be. What do you guys think? It's enjoyable to sit down and do this again, in my opinion.
I bet next time it'll go a little bit smoother.
It probably will. We'll be a bit more prepared next time. We certainly... This was... Like I said, a bit more of like a pilot episode.
Pilot.
Seeing if it would work. So we'll be a bit more prepared and know what to do a bit more next time. We'll probably have some more people on here, like maybe like Richard and Jer and such. So, see everybody next time.
Oh, we're done?
Thanks. Yes. We will be in a moment. Alright.